Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up guys, Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan Kyle and myself have been checking out the new album from UK riff monsters Osiah. The band's new album Lost will be released on May 7th via Unique Leader Records. So, these guys have been active since around about 2012, although they have played in other projects together prior to this. Lost will be the band's third full-length album and their second album on Unique Leader. The album was recorded and produced by Osiah guitarist Andy Malaby, mixed and mastered by Christian Donaldson at The Grid, assisted by Dominic Grimard, and drum engineering was done by Ronnie Young. Okay, so Osiah, I've been following these guys since, well, pretty much since the get-go, really. Thanks to our old website, Rock and Roll Reviews, we were lucky enough to review some of the older material for on the site for Osiah, and they're one of those bands that have most definitely shown like progression over the last two albums. There is a noticeable difference between Terra Firma and Kingdom of Lies. So when I heard there was a new album on the way, I was pretty excited to hear what 2021 Osiah would sound like. We're also living in a time where Deathcore is spreading faster than the Rona. Like I don't ever remember getting so much Deathcore in for review. Even with our old site, it wasn't as like loaded as this.
It's getting its second win at the moment. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like it had its moment in the sun. It did all right. Some of those bands are still going around just now, still fairly successfully doing it. But there's a whole new wave of them coming out. And Osiah somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, well, I must admit, some of the stuff we've heard over the last year has been pretty fucking outstanding. Bands in this genre are seriously up in their game. Talking about bands like Distant and Brand of Sacrifice, Humanity's Last Breath, pretty much the roster at Unique Leader Records, to be honest. We're getting to the point though where it's becoming harder and harder to stand out, because bands like Brand of Sacrifice, even Monasteries to an extent, they're throwing everything and the kitchen sink into the mix, really kind of pushing boundaries and mixing in new elements to try and kind of carve out their own niche. So part of me was like, what can Osiah do to compete with those other bands right now? And as I said, I've been a fan since back in the day. I think they were always a good band in my opinion, but for me, it just goes to show that it's not always about adding more and overcomplicating things to try and stand out. Sometimes just taking the key elements and improving on them is all that's really needed. And Osiah have taken their sound to the fucking gym, in my opinion, and fucking worked that motherfucker out. This is jacked Osiah. This is Dave Ronnie Coleman, this motherfucker. This is like famous bodybuilder, just if you didn't get the reference. If you listen to the opening bars of The Second Law, my jaw was about hanging off in that first 30 seconds of that track. Not only have they like tightened every thread of their sound to the point where it is machine tight, but the riffs, oh my god, the riffs. This is by far the heaviest and most devastating record to date from Osiah. Those riffs are just like a tube of Pringles. You know, like once you've heard the first riff, you'll just be jonesing for more. I was like a goddamn heroin addict after that first track.
You are all over the place. You are on Pringles, and you're having Pringles don't go with heroin. You don't want to eat when you've had heroin, Dave.
Well,
but you're just like, let me just.
Well, instead of selling my asshole for heroin, it was Osiah riffs I wanted.
So you did get the nickname Rent Boy Dave.
True story.
It was only a year. Only a year.
the exit interview gave them a 10 for riffs.
Seriously though, the riffs on this, they just pile on, just one after another. And they're so varied. They constantly mix up right from the get-go on the second law. It just hits you full force with a wave of blasts, bleak, disgustingly heavy chords. But within the first minute, it's moved from blasts to mid-paced grooves to breakdowns that'll make you fucking wish you'd worn 2 pairs of pants. And it doesn't stop, not for a second. Like, Paracusia had almost a bit of a kind of brand of sacrifice type feel to it, and the rhythms during the verses, but it's just got some really well executed, the kind of synchronized bass riff and kind of bass drum patterns thrown in, which really kind of accentuates the tightness and also the band's kind of techier side. Queen of Sorrow just like hits like a freight train, like just punishing. The double bass drums on that were phenomenal. The riffs are really kind of have a real kind of churning feel to them that just constantly kind of slap you silly on that track. But they kind of start to on that track, they start to tease you with like something slower, but they don't pull the trigger on it like straight away. And I like that. I like the kind of, let's just make them wait just a little bit longer. And then when they hit you with a money shot, it's just like pure dissonance, slow, thick, discordant as fuck. And the album was full of that. Like there wasn't a track on here that didn't stop me in my tracks and make me question my life. Like, why haven't I started an Osiah fan club? You know what I mean? The kind of one band that I kept thinking about when I listened to this album was Despised Icon. Pretty much from the beginning, I was hearing little elements in the riffs and the kind of the vocals, the kind of rhythms and stuff, very similar to Despised Icon, which I love. I love Despised Icon. Temporal Punishment in particular, some of the chord choices and rhythms took me back to that kind of The Ills of Modern Man by Despised Icon. But I didn't feel like they were ripping them off or, you know, coming across like a sound alike. I felt like Osiah are clearly doing their own thing. Terracide Compulsion was a kind of definite standout for me on this album. I just love the transitions between the parts. And when they drop a gear and just kind of let it groove with the kind of synced up double bass drum patterns, just so infectious. Absolutely loved it. Vocally, this is it's exactly what you want from a deathcore album. Ricky, the vocalist, has an unbelievable tone. He makes it sound really easy. Those gutturals are insane. And even like on the tracks, he's joined by Jason Evans from Ingested and Ben from Shadow of Intent on the album. And that is just like a deathcore fan's wet dream right there. Like just those three vocalists on that album are just phenomenal. I love the different tones and different kind of textures of their voices together. It was really cool. When I saw the runtime, it was like 50 minutes or something like that. I thought, ooh, 50 minutes. Are they going to run out of steam on this? Because 50 minutes is a long time to try and keep someone's attention, especially on deathcore albums, because they do have the kind of potential to become tiring, which we've mentioned, you know, on certain album reviews in the past. But they do a pretty good job at keeping your attention throughout. I'd say probably by maybe track 10, 11, I did start to feel like maybe it could have came to a conclusion about then. But I feel that like this album's so well done, I felt it difficult to be really super critical about that. But it's the only kind of small gripe I had was maybe taking maybe one or two tracks off the end of it. But I mean, when I was listening to it for the first time, I was so amped up listening to it. I got to the halfway point, about track 6 or 7, and I started the album all over again. I just wanted to hear it again from the start. I love this. I think they have leveled up, in my opinion, in every way possible. I think the musicianship, the songwriting has been upgraded yet again. Even in the kind of short 2 years between Kingdom of Lies and now, you can hear a big difference. They've managed to kind of perfect the art of keeping an album engaging, which I felt they definitely lacked on their first album. The second album was better, but I feel they've really got it right on this one. I think the tracks are really well constructed. Everything has its place. It's there for a reason. The production I loved. I know Kyle's probably not going to agree with me on this one, but it's probably my favourite. I'm just putting that out there. It's probably my favourite production of the releases so far. I think the guitar tone is awesome. It just growls at you throughout the release. And then when those big parts land, you can't be anything other than annihilated by it. Drum sound as well. I thought it was tight, punchy as hell, and it just kind of adds to the overall impact of the album. I have all good things to say about the new album from Osiah. You guys, I've no idea if you guys have even heard Osiah before or what you think of this. Duncan, what did you make of Loss by Osiah?
I'm so glad that you came to me first, Dave. The eternal ray of sunshine on this podcast. The Dream Giver is what I'm calling myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe not in this review.
Pretty sure that's a glory hole move.
It is. It is very difficult to execute, but when done rightly, oh boy, it's messy. Kind of torn on this one.
All right.
Yes, kind of torn on this one. And you hit the nail on the head in your review as to one of my issues. I think this album's too long.
Okay.
I think when you were saying track 10 or 11, track 10. Pin that motherfucker down, track 10. I would drop the Realms of Misery intro and then keep maybe an extra track on the end. I don't necessarily think Realms of Misery adds anything to this.
Okay.
I think the musicality on it's brilliant. I think it is really, really, really well written. I think I will agree with you, guitar tone is fucking pummeling. Love the drums. Love the thickness of the tone. Love the grooves. Technically speaking, it is very, very, very well executed. Vocally, it's brilliant. The track with Jason Evans called "Lost," the title track. There is a section in this where everything drops out and he's just, and it sounds like a really old car being started in the snow. It was just like this kind of like this, and then everything starts to come in under it, and he holds that tone for an abnormally long amount of time, to the point where I was like, yes, breathe. It's really fucking cool, because not all vocalists get the opportunity to hit a note like that, and for the band to stop playing because you're all selfish bastards, right? You just want to have your little, just a little rim shot here, or a little bass twang. I'm throwing shade at both these. You don't always get that, but it works in this. Vocals are produced incredibly well, nice and clear, like super, super clear. I think the guest appearances as well, excellent. That they add to it. I'm not an Osiah fan because I hadn't listened to them before. I can't even remember them coming in during the Rock and Reel days. And
I think it was the first album.
Yeah, I would try, where possible, to listen to everything we reviewed on the site back in the early days anyway, because I always liked reading what the person had written and then re-listening and seeing if I agreed or not. So I'm not the foremost Osiah expert, and I'm glad that you're here to keep me on point. I also think that just generally, and this is not an Osiah issue, this is a Duncan issue, I think this year I'm starting to change my attitudes towards death metal and starting to ingrain my attitudes towards deathcore. I think you're right. There's just so much of it out there just now that I'm almost a little bit overwhelmed by it. And I think you're right. The new trend is, it's not only the guitars, it's not only the drums, it's not only the vocals, and it has to be as brutal as fuck with the most punishing breakdowns ever. But there has to be ominous sims in the background. Like, everyone's doing the ominous sims in the background now. That's just the fucking thing. And Osiah don't do that. And that kind of felt a bit refreshing, because they don't really need to do it. You know what I mean? They're heavy as fuck. The music's dread-filled anyway. So that additional thing is surplus to requirements for what they're actually doing. You can see I'm kind of beating around the bush, because I am genuinely torn on this one. Because I think musically, it's great. It wore me out by track 10. I listened to this back to back twice today. So I didn't do the Dave 8, I'll finish at track 7. Lazy. And go back to it. I listened to the full thing and then went back through the full thing again. Mostly because I misread emails, and as a result of that misreading the emails, I spent a whole week listening to 2 albums when I should have been listening to 4. So this one is very fresh in my mind, in that I listened to this one on the run up to this recording. This was the second last album I listened before we hit record. So it's very, very fresh there. And yeah, there was plenty of stank face when I was listening to it. There was plenty of headbanging at my work desk. There was tons of things that, there are bits in this that I think are just like standout deathcore moments. I also think there's just bits in here that are just very, not run of the mill, but just very, this is what deathcore does. And I think they put them in to differentiate themselves against them. So as a complete package, I imagine this would be fucking killer live. I imagine that, you know, as a band, not knowing their background, if you're telling me that they are just progressively getting better and this is them starting to hit the stride, that's cool as fuck, because it's a very accomplished sounding album. But I come back to my overall issues with the genre in that I find it tiresome. When it gets to a certain point, I feel like I've gleaned everything I can. It's not like prog music where there's always that potential journey somewhere else into a different realm in musical writing. It is very much the design of deathcore is to pummel you into submission. Guys, you achieved that on this release. Track 10, I am pummeled into submission, and everything after that, you're beating a man that's unconscious. You're like, I can't defend myself. Are you happy now, Osiah? Are you fucking happy? It is brutal. It's up there. I mean, we've talked about some of the most brutal releases that are heavier than this. But this one just has a consistent level of brutality where they're not adding a gimmick in to give them that next level. It's just always there throughout the tone, and that is very difficult to do. It's just the genre of music they play in. They will be, in terms of my grade, I will give them what I think musically is worthy, but I can't see me coming back unless I've had the most hellacious day. I can't see me coming back and rationing, through. So there are certain tracks that will Loss. That was the one that's the Loss and Terracide Compulsion, the two tracks back to back, are a fucking revelation, and they come at the middle mark of the album as well, which gives you that lip win to, right, I'm ready for the second half. But like I say, it's just exhausting for me, and I imagine if you're this band, that's what you want. You want to make people cry uncle, scream mercy, and they got that from me. So yeah, I am not the target market, I think, for a band like Osiah, but I appreciate 100% everything they do. So that was diplomatic, and my grade will reflect that.
Yeah, very much so. Kyle, are you going to make me cry right now?
Dream Killer.
Cry me a river, motherfucker. No, I also was torn on this one because, I mean, deathcore for me is like, it's hit and miss again. It's like some of it can be really interesting and really good and really well done, and some of it can be absolute fucking tripe. Be just derivative and crap. And this doesn't, songwriting and all that with like the riffs and what they've done and the fact they've not used the boring background noises and all this kind of stuff, that is really refreshing, and they're really, really, really good at writing riffs. Holy shit. That I was like trying not to fill my pants. It was a journey, but like around track 9 I was like, oh my god, I can't take more. It was like it was just way too, it was a hard listen after that. I enjoyed it for the most part up until then, but then it got to like 9 and I looked at the track list, I was like, fuck, this is only halfway through. How many tracks they should have released this as 2 EPs, because I mean, I'm not saying
he said Dave's this is a distant argument all over again.
There we go. Yeah. It's just too much to take in at one time. It just is. And I tried as many times as I did, and by the time it was always that same point, it was just like, it's just like Duncan was saying, I'm going to echo the same thing. It's just, you've beaten me to submission, and now you're just flogging a corpse now. There's no point giving me anymore because I can't take it. You filled me up, you've used up the tube, and I'm just,
weak ass pussies.
I think it is, but I think it is. I think it genuinely. I don't even think it's an age thing for me.
Weak ass pussies.
I think there is a. I think this is what makes, and once again, for anyone that's listening to us for the first time, like gobsmacked that, like, I thought they were the Metal Epidemic. I think all three of us come from completely different backgrounds and tastes in music, and I think we do tend to align more than I think we should on paper, on albums.
Yeah,
like realistically, we should not. Like all three of us are into, we shouldn't align nearly as much as we do. But I think there are certain genres where death metal is one of them, for sure, and I've put my cards down on the table about that one before. If you're coming to me for a death metal review, don't expect me to be, unless it's Cannibal Corpse, don't expect me to be like, sounding the horn for a fountain of knowledge on that, because I'm just not. It's not that I'd like it. To me, it's it gets too repetitive at a point, and my interest starts to want to try and reach for something else. Deathcore's kind of similar to that because it incorporates those elements of death metal, those elements of kind of metalcore or hardcore, or whatever you want to call it. And Osiah don't fall into a lot of the trappings of that, like the changes in pacing and the grooves that I think we were all talking about. When their groove stuff kicks in, I'm smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah, definitely. All that. Yeah,
it's fucking great. Stuff. It's so great, but it is so unrelentingly heavy. That it gets to a point where I'm like, all the groove riffs in the world are not going to bring me back. It's like that great. It's like that great fake video online where there's two monkeys sitting in the park, and the female monkey is kind of slapping the dick of the male monkey, and it says underneath, like, when you've already given her your best sesh and she's ready for seconds, and he's just like, that's me at track 10. Like, I've given my best. I've done my best riding, and now I just want to just sit, chill out. I don't smoke, so I can't say that. Chill out, have a cup of tea, maybe dunk my biscuit into it. But you know what I mean? I like, it's just, and I think the thing as well is I don't think any of those tracks past 10 do anything. I mean, they're still fine. They're still great tracks and they're well written, but they don't do anything to necessarily merit. That sounds so harsh. I was going to say merit their existence. They're clearly meant to be there because the band wanted them there. But from my point of view, from a critical point of view, or from a critical eye, from a critical ear, when I get to that point, I'm like, you've done everything. You've filled this whole album up with your sounds, your styles, your personality, and all the rest. And now I'm at the stage where I'm like that.
Yeah, me too. Exactly, you know what I mean? The same.
It's weird to describe. It's not because I dislike it. It's just I feel like they've made their message loud and clear at that point.
Like, where can you go from here if it's intense all the way through? Because it is. I mean, it is really intense from minute 1 to minute goddamn 30,000. Like, it's really long, and I'm not saying I got bored of it at all.
No,
it's just there's something to be said for self-editing. If they had, as much as Dave hates this, released it as 2 EPs, it would have been like, cut it off as track 6 or 7, then I want to come back for more. And then in a month's time, you release another EP. You do the distant things like, holy fuck, how did you come up with this? You know, when really they've just recorded an album and released it half and half. But then I probably would have appreciated those final last tracks a lot more, and I think maybe a lot of other people are going to agree.
I think a lot of people are going to disagree as well. I think that's the thing. I think if you're in the long haul, if you're a deathcore fan and you're an Osiah fan, I can't imagine you're going to be disappointed by this, because this is top level deathcore. Like, even as someone that's not a big fan of the genre, I know good deathcore, and I heard it because I've heard plenty of bad deathcore, and it's right up there. And once again, British as well, which is kind of cool, because they have a kind of international flavour about them in terms of their sound. But
I genuinely didn't feel exhausted by it at all. I just felt like around that. I just found around that kind of track 10, 11 felt like a natural conclusion to the album. I didn't think it was like I wasn't tired by it. I just felt like they'd shown us everything they needed to show within those 10 and 11 tracks.
That's my thing.
And I think,
I'm spent at that. It's like being told to. It's like running, as someone that has run a marathon. It's like running a marathon, and then you get to the end of that marathon and you cross the line and you've achieved everything you've set it to achieve, and they're like that. See, to get your medal, you need to run another mile up that road there to get your medal. You're like, oh no, that's what the end of the album kind of felt like me. I got it. I appreciated everything they did, and I got the message, and everything was there. But then there was some extra tracks in there, which I was like, all right, well, I'm going to listen to them, and they're very well written. They're very, very, very well written. But I don't necessarily think they're. It's such a dick thing to say, because I'm not writing it, and if I was writing an album and I had the option of putting in an extra 2 songs, I'd put an extra 2 songs in, and fuck anyone that didn't want to listen to it. So so I'm totally with them. I don't know, it's a weird one. We're just getting a lot of, like, Unique Leader Records needs to maybe have a month where they don't release something, and that would be nice, because it's like every week is the next, and it's the next band that will melt your face. And Osiah certainly sounds different from some of the other ones that are that are coming out.
They've
from
got
the
a
label.
really unique sound.
I
They
like that
really
about
do.
them.
I
like
really
that
like.
about them.
You could pick Osiah out of a lineup
Yeah.
easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, you
Yep.
could. I mean, there's so many deathcore bands that sounds exactly the fucking same.
Yeah.
And I can't name them because I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, Osiah are not one of those bands. They sound great, you know? They really do. And,
I don't even know where we're
there's
going to be with our grades here. I think we're going to be all over the shop.
no idea, yeah.
I think we're going to
I
be
mean,
all
I'm so
over the
totally
shop.
torn because the riffs are amazing.
Yeah.
And, like, the songs are crafted expertly. And that dude's growling is, like,
It's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. There's some production choices I won't mention that I don't agree with. But apart from that,
Really?
because it's not the drummer's fault, it's the producer.
Who was the guitarist? So
Well, he only recorded it, so it could be
Oh,
a
right,
three-prong.
yeah.
So he only recorded it, but I don't know, the mixing
no, I
and
think he
mastering
produced it,
engineers.
yeah.
I don't
produced it,
know.
I thought you said.
Recorded and produced by the guitarist, then mixed and mastered.
And
by-
I don't know. It could be either one of those because mixing people do that too.
Yeah.
But I think I've said enough on that subject tonight. People know what I mean.
I
And
want to hear more.
I want to put out there that I'm sorry to all the drummers I may have offended. It's not directed at you. It's directed at the producers taking you off the record
We
we
should have
played
this
on.
in a separate video.
Yeah.
I should.
It's a little too
Oh,
late.
we're
Public
doing that.
service announcement
Yeah.
from Kyle.
Yeah.
That's not going to take back all the messages I've had from pissed off drummers, Kyle. All right, you're too late.
It will. I'll do it.
Pissed off American drummers going, where is Norway anyway? It sounds made up.
Yeah. Norway's the capital of Sweden. Go there.
Shots fired. Bring us in, Dave. Bring us in.
Trying to say drummers are stupid, Kyle? Is that what you're trying to say right now?
No, Dave, Mr. Drummer Man.
I'm just
I'm
trying
saying-
to get in more trouble. Okay.
I love drummers. They're the backbone of every band.
The
Just hate
drummer here.
producers.
Okay, ratings. Let's do this. Okay, rating for me. I, as I said, I liked their previous stuff. I think their last album for me was probably about a 4 out of 5. And I think there are elements of this album that are definitely better. I think the songwriting is better, the song structures and the production for me is better than the last release. My only small gripe is I'd maybe cut a couple of tracks from the end. So I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5 on this one. Duncan, where are you going?
I am a 3.5, which is the grade that I usually give out
3.5?
when I'm like, yeah, I think 3.5 is.
Scandalous.
No, I don't think so. I don't like. I don't think so.
Scandalous.
I have literally said here that I will maybe revisit this when I'm angry. It's not my genre. It's not my bag. I appreciate what they did. I think they're very good at what they do. You can keep shaking your head all you want, but
I will.
this is. It's very good for what it is, but it ain't the sort of stuff I like. So
Okay, Kyle.
I think I'm gonna echo one of you. And I'm gonna leave it to you to decide which one it is.
No, I need to know the grade, Kyle. For
well,
this
actually,
review.
physically, he's got a graphic that appears on the video, and it can't come up with like a picture of Duncan and Dave in it. Like, I don't
just
know.
like- A
If you combine
mysterious
both
black
our
hole
scores, maybe
of
you
hate.
could go in between, Kyle, between both our scores.
Oh,
Yeah, 3.5.
my man.
Fucking 3.5s, man.
I like it.
See what I'm
'cause
dealing with here, people on the
I
internet?
like-
See what I'm dealing with?
I like the fact that Kyle could have sat in that fence, but saw how uncomfortable it was and chose not to.
Yeah, I didn't want to
Fuck's
split the
sake.
difference, as they say.
Listen, Osiah, if you're listening, I promise I'll review your next album just on my own.
Yeah.
All right, fuck these guys.
Yeah, that's what people want to listen to, just one man's perspective.
They do. They
Yeah, absolutely.
do. Osiah do.
I'll tell you what,
I've
next
no
time
doubt they do. I've no doubt they
we'll
do.
arrive and we'll laugh at his jokes, but we'll just be silent when he asks us.
Yeah. It's just could be the thing is, like, he could technically edit this, so it could be like that. What did you think, Duncan? And it could just be Dave's voice going 4.5. Like, what do you think, Kyle? Oh, 4.5. So-
Dave doing his best English accent.
Or he just cuts the bit out. He just cuts the bit out from a previous review where you're like that.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time I've done this year. 5 out of 5. It could happen. It could happen. I'm just saying that we don't know this edit is going to be this edit until I listen to it back and then curse Dave's name.
Okay. Well, you need to wait and see what happens. If you want to check out these guys, it is facebook.com And then I've lost the link. Where's the link?
/
Osiah UK.
Yep,
/
there
Osiah UK. The album drops on May 7th on Unique Leader Records. It's called Lost. Check these guys out. Check the album out when it comes out on the 7th of May. Let us know what you think if you've heard it in the singles, and once you've heard the album, let us know what you think of it. That's the review, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.